Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is, for me, the best day of the week. Why? Because I get to be here with you. And I know I have a tech team, but I get to run the little operation right there. And they have this show going to all these different places. And it's so cool because every once in a while, someone will say, "Hey, I found you somewhere." I'm like, "Well, where was that?" "Oh, I didn't even know I showed up in that place." But that's what's so cool about the internet. It just keeps going and going and going. It is the real new Energizer Bunny. I want to remind everyone that we just came out with our fourth book in the Art of Connection series. It's one right here. And Mary J. Robertson, who's going to be on today, she gets bonus crackers for having the book in her background. So you'll see that in a little bit. Gotta love it. The number one international award-winning book series, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Gratitude Quotes. We're so excited. It's available on Amazon. You can go to my book. You can go to mybook.to/Art of Connection 4. That's mybook.to/Art of Connection 4. And you can get your book there for just a couple more days, and then it's going to go up to the regular retail price that Amazon likes to have us set it at, and that's $26.99. And people like $26.99 for a paperback book, but why? And it's because it's a 2.1 pound book full of amazing information with amazing people. But right now, until April 1st, you can get that book for $16.99. So, please go out there, support the author contributors that are in the book. They have a passion and they're sharing their knowledge with the world. Also, please go like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. I know, iNetrepreneur. That's some word, isn't it? But I guarantee you, if you book it, and that's what I want you to do. I made the word so hard you had to bookmark it because no one can spell it. So at any rate, or like us at YouTube. Would love to have you subscribe to our channel and come on and say stuff in the chat and stuff with us here at any time on Thursday. Also, please subscribe to our magazines. We have the iNetrepreneur magazine. It's at iNetropreneurmagazine.com, and also the Contemporary Woman magazine, thecontemporarywoman.com. You can go there. You can sign up for our two wonderful magazines, and there's great articles in there. I mean, I know people say, "Hey, do people really read magazines?" And I say, "Well, I do." And they're like, "Why?" Because people are kind of interesting when they write their magazine articles. It's so different than a social media post. At any rate, also go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. You can go to our chapter events, our author classes, our pop-up events, our summits, our author literary circles. The list goes on and on and on. We put on, guys, almost 1,000 meetings and events every year. Almost 1,000 meetings and events every year. I'm shocked when I say that because people ask me, "When does something go on?" I said, "I don't know. I got to go look at the calendar." So ntevents.net, that's where you get all of our information. So I am so excited. I get to welcome my very good friend, Lana Stevenson, to the show. Lana, how are you? And welcome.
Thanks, Robert. Really excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Again, Lana Stevenson is owner and founder of Resilience Shift Health, Wellness, and Fitness. Did I do that right?
You did it right.
All right. You can reach her at resilienceshifthealth@gmail.com or call her at 619-977-9858. Londa, I appreciate you, and I'm just going to start the show that way. And I've always appreciated you, like from the first time I heard you speak. And the reason why I say that is you have such a depth of understanding through empathy, understanding through care, and understanding, what it's like to be an individual who's gone through their own torment and is also one who helps people who are going through their own torment. And I just wanted to say, I've always appreciated you about, in what you do. And you definitely inspire me because you also make me remember what love looks like and also what pain looks like. And it takes a lot of love to help people when they're in serious pain. And, and I know your life wasn't always the way that it is now. You've been a superstar athlete in your life. And, there was a day you said, I'm going to change what I'm going to do in my life and really help others not just survive through their trauma and drama at times, but thrive. And so, tell us just a little bit about your business and why did you choose Reliance Shift Health as your business name?
Well, thanks, Robert. I really appreciate those beautiful words you've said, because I don't often see myself that way, because it's just been a slow evolution of my life. And Resilience Shift became something so true to my daughter's fight with cancer. When she was diagnosed with cancer in 2014 at the age of 24, I fell apart. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we got the diagnosis in the ER, I was hysterical on the phone to my sister, and my daughter's like, "Mom, calm down. Everything's going to be okay." And that's kind of how she's gone through these 10 years, just such strength, such resilience, that this disease is not going to get me. And she was given a 14 to 24 month prognosis. It's 10 years later now. She's 34 years old, and she's gone through at least 10 or 12 surgeries, 7 rounds of chemotherapy, radiation, ablation, and she's lived her life to the nth degree as much as she possibly could. And the last couple of years have been a little bit more difficult, but I still see this strength and resilience in this kid that blows me away. And when I saw her fighting and not even just accepting the fact that she has cancer, it wasn't going to derail her life. She carried on snowboarding. She did everything she could physically possibly do. So at that point, my first reaction was, because it was so difficult for me, I had no concept of where to go, what to do, and the medical system doesn't help you.
No.
So I reached out. Initially, my goal was to reach out to parents of adult children with cancer, because it was a very difficult position to be in. Your child's an adult. You can't really tell them what they can and can't do.
And this is where part of like on my show when we talk and we get real, I do want to slow you down just a little bit, because to me the most remarkable thing is I have 4 children myself, and I can break my own heart, but when I see their heartbreak, I think it's the hardest thing I can get through. And I'm a cancer survivor myself. My second son, he's going to be turning 18. He's going to be getting out of the home, and it's like breaking my heart because I'm seeing my little boy grow up. See, this is where I say to you, Lana, and this is where I want to slow down. As a mom, as a business owner, as a woman, as a person of strength, as a person that helps each other, so many times as entrepreneurs, we spend so much time helping others that we don't necessarily slow down and help ourselves. And that's really, in my pause for you is again just recognizing you in your journey and what you've gone through and how you've gone from perspire to inspire. And that is what I want people to know about you, Lana, because when people ask, where can I go and who can I find to for support, I say you. And I just want to make sure that people recognize that this journey has been as much, if not more, for you than it even has been for your daughter. Wouldn't you agree?
Robert, 110%. It has been such a life learning journey, and so difficult at times. And that is why I'm so grateful for the support of iNet, and just know that it's there all the time, because there are occasions, I'm a single mom and have been for many years. So it's me. There's no one else. And there are times where I have to bow out from my business for a week, for 2 weeks. And I have the support of groups like iNet, my family, who are all in Toronto, but we're a very close-knit family, and the community. So yeah, the most painful thing is watching your child suffer and being so helpless, so
Yeah.
incredibly helpless on every level. And
You know,
so when I saw that, all I wanted to do was try and give back to people who are feeling that helpless, and inspire them with tools to help them feel better physically, which falls out into the emotional side, the hope side. I mean, my story with Leora and Hope is like, it's incredible how, and if you saw her today, like right this second, she's gone through a major surgery, like
y-
she's still walking with a walker. You'd think,
you, and this is the other thing I love saying, because hope is a very big word. It's a very strong word, and it's a very, very beautiful word. But see, what I love, I'm getting goosebumps just saying it right now. But one of the things I also think about, hope without tools, and that's what you said. Hope without tools is like a journey without a start.
mhm,
Hope can only go as far as the tools that are provided and the wisdom that are used with those tools. And see, that is something where I like to step in, and I want to keep, saying, Lana, in many ways, I've known you now for a couple of years, and that's what you provide. You provided others in such a way. So it's not just the hope, it's actually providing them with like a process, like a journey toolkit, so to speak, so they can move forward. Tell us a little bit about those tools, and maybe even a success story that you've seen.
right. So, I'm very fortunate also at this point in time, because so many studies have been done, and the results are like over many, many years. And it's coming out how exercise is such an incredible aid for people with any chronic disease and going through cancer at any stage of treatment, pre-surgeries, post-surgeries. So I have the science in it's all coming out now. And then a new tool we found, well, it's not actually new. It's been in Japan for over 50 years, called blood flow restriction training. And this helps me to help my clients simulate high intensity exercise and getting those benefits with having to do minimal. So, and that empowers them so much to move forward, to feel their sense of independence again, to have the hope that they can live a normal life, that
Yeah,
cancer is not a death sentence anymore.
it's not. And and sometimes it, for some people who have kicked it, and I will even say me on that one. I was 40 years old when I got cancer, and it took me about a year and a half to kick cancer's butt, if I can say that. But you know what? I became a new person because of it. I had a new life. I had a whole new book of stories that I could write. And that is something that we're happening too. But one of the things also that I have learned in my life and is the power of breath, the
Yes.
power of breathing, the power of expanding the lungs and letting out air slowly. Talk about breath work and why that's also so important for us when we're going through trauma and when we're going through, trying physical times and even emotional or mental, you know.
Breath work has been proven
Mhm.
to help, like, even lower blood pressure. And it's almost like meditating. Some people have a really hard time to just sit, go inwards and meditate. So when you've got the breath work and different ways of doing it and a model to follow, and you sit and you're calm and you really tap into the breath work, it's a total source of meditation and going inwards and being still and at peace. And I really have found that I do it for myself. There's a little instrument, I forget what it's called. You strap it around your chest, and it measures your own pace of breathing, and with very soft music, it said breathe in, breathe out, because people don't take the time, and it's making that 15 minutes, for self-care, to just go sit and breathe. And if you can teach your clients how to do that, and you can teach that through working out, because they need to breathe deeply, along with the physical. So it's highly, highly, highly recommended.
Yeah, I mean, and I say this because many of the high profile people that I work with are entrepreneurs, business owners, and one of the things that they put last is always that the part of them that they need most, and that's their own self-care. And I say that the more that you're able to work on yourself, the more that the world will light up for you. And so often, it seems like the world comes pushing in, on us, because we're not taking that time to take these healthy pauses to really, reach and grow. Everyone, again, I am with Lana Stevenson. She's owner and founder of Resilience Shift Health, Wellness and Fitness. You can reach her at resilienceshifthealth@gmail.com, or call her at 619-977-9858. And of course, I know where 619 is because I would live there for 20 years. That's where I became a recovering programmer. Okay. Because that's my background. My background's actually computer programming and coding. Lana, I want to ask you this question, and it's one I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. When you were younger, you had a fire to live your life a certain way. Then tragedy came into your life, and you had to pivot, and you had to go a different way. What have you learned from this pivot that you wish you could have told your younger self, that is really helping you strive and thrive today?
Well, I have gone through so many changes, Robert, from my young South African upbringing, where everything was easy, and I was going to get married right off into the sunset and live happily ever after. We immigrated to Canada, and then again to San Diego, and things changed. I think I'm not sure what I would have told my younger self, because I feel like I really lived my life to the full without fear. Mm-hmm. And I was true to myself in doing the things I needed to do for me. And the learning process has been hard, but great. I enjoy who I am at 64. And I don't think I would have been who I am today if not having gone through everything that I have.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me, he's like, if your body isn't full of scars, you're not living life deep enough. And I always think about that, and I'm like, well, Dad, that sounds painful. And he's like, and he used to tell me, he says, well, it's that pain that really allows you to love life more. And it's like, it's taken me, I don't know, like 4 decades to kind of figure out, that pain actually does help you learn how to live life more. And I'm 59 years old now, and I feel like I have the abundance of energy and the inner heart as any child. And it really is because the discovery of knowing that everything that I've been through is really just a plan for me to be in this moment right now. And I think that is the hope that you give, Lana Stevenson. You give other people all around you the power to meet them where they're at and give them life right now the way that they need to live it. And I appreciate you for that.
Thanks, Robert. I think if everybody goes through stuff, and if you think you're going to live your life with no negative, it's a fantasy. Nobody does. Some a little more than others, but I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful And that's why I have 2 pages in your book.
Well, thank you for that. And everyone, that's the Art of Connection book series. You heard it here. Again, everyone, I'm with Lana Stevenson. She's owner and founder of Resilience Shift Health, Wellness, and Fitness. You can reach her at resilienceshifthealth@gmail.com. That's resilienceshifthealth@gmail.com. Or you can call her at 619-977-9858. Lana, thank you so much for being here today. And yes, I spun the table a little bit on you because I want people to also know Lana. And you're an
Thank you, Robin.
amazing woman. And I'm glad you came on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love that commercial. It's like, I feel like I'm seeing a collage of all my friends going back and forth in these little bubbles, they're going out. So, I kid you not. Life is wonderful and it is meant to be lived. And I try to do that each and every day. And speaking of someone who's living life, I have Mary Jane Robinson. She's coming on with me right now. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Hi, Robert. Thanks so much for having me today.
I am so glad that you're here today. And hey, I had to celebrate you. Of course I did. I see back there your best-selling book and also the international best-selling book, Art of Connection, 365 Days of Gratitude. And I have to tell you, it's really interesting, Mary. And again, I'm with Mary J. Robinson. She's owner and founder of Kaleidoscope. And, Kaleidoscope is spelled K-O. Kaleidoscope, right? We figured that out last time.
Oh, yes. I love that. I love it, and I won't forget it.
And we don't want anyone else to forget it, too. So anyone who's transcribing out there, it's Kaleidoscope Energy, LLC. You can reach her at kaleidoscopenergy@gmail.com or call her at 402-660-1965. Look at that ending there. I like that. 402-660-1965. Gratitude. What a powerful word. And, one of the things I talked about in the book of gratitude is, many times when we think of gratitude, we think of it as a one-way transfer. I give you something, you take that something, you say thank you to me, and that's it. But gratitude actually came from trade, the word trade, gratia, many, many years before, from Latin. And really what it meant was when people were grateful or had gratitude, it meant that you'd have sugar and I would have salt. I would give you my salt, you'd give me my sugar, and we would both benefit in gratitude or gratia. And that's what I love about the book is, many of the people who wrote their pages in the book wrote it out of the gratia. And that's being grateful, not just being grateful that you've been given something, but being grateful that you have the ability to give. And I think that that's one of the things that we forget in true gratefulness is just having the ability to give. Would you agree with that a little bit? Or what is your take on that?
With that? Yes. And you just said it so beautifully. I can't even make it any better.
Well,
I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that, well, as even what I wrote in there is kindness grows gratitude. When you're kind to others, then that makes them be grateful. And then you're grateful. And it just kind of is a full circle, if you will.
And it really is. And one of the things I love about energy, and you have energy in your business name, is energy really is a ball. And when you're, gosh, this is the second time I've gotten goosebumps on this show, and I'm getting them again just talking about energy. But one of the things I love talking about myself is this sphere of energy. And when you're able to expand this sphere of energy, especially when you're expanding your gi, so to speak, that energy is very infectious, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, you
You
can
know,
tell somebody's energy when you walk into a room, even. You could tell
right.
if they're, in a not so good mood, or wanting to socialize, or really happy and energetic. So, yeah, energy can tell a lot.
You know, and I always say, one of the things that I've learned in my life is, someone told me once, you know, you don't build the foundation on the structure, you build a foundation on the emotional acumen of its people. And I just was like, wow. And it kind of reminded me of Maya Angelou's quote. People, it's not what you said, it's not what they hear, it's how they feel, right? And I think a lot of times, um, we we talk about feelings a lot, but in many ways, when we talk about feelings, it's always our feelings. And as I've gone in my personal development journey, I'm beginning to understand, quite frankly, true growth and mastery is it's not about my feelings anymore. You know what it is? It's about gracia. It's
Mm.
about our feelings of expansion, our feelings of growth, our feelings of being in such a place that as we expand together and we create synergy, more energy is created from that. And see, I know I'm really leading up for you right now, but I am going to lead up for you right now. What you do in my heart is one of the greatest things. You work with kids
No.
who need special help. And one of the things that you don't know about me is my youngest daughter with my wife is adopted. Also, one of the things that I've done is in our local area, I've worked with PetSmart for several years, and there's those plushy toys. And so I oversaw the East Valley of Phoenix and all the plushy toys, and I was the person who distributed all those plushy toys to the children throughout our valley here. And it's one thing to get a bag of necessities, but to see a child that's 3 or 4 years old get a plushy toy and hold something like that for the first time, it is amazing. And it's the purest form of gratia that I can think, because I'm having the ability to give and they have the open heart of receiving. And there is nothing like that in the world. And it's one of the things that I've learned. I ask the question, it's like, can we learn from our children? And everyone's hand goes up to a certain extent. But then I ask again, do we learn from our children? And one of the things I want to ask in working with children for many years as you've had, what have you learned from the kids that you've worked with?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first word that comes to my mind is kids are resilient.
Mm,
And I also feel like they really look up to the caregivers or the teachers or whoever's working with them, just because they're counting on them to gain more knowledge. And
yeah.
I absolutely love working with those with special needs, because I love to see their face light up, those aha moments when they didn't think they could, but we keep telling them, yes, you can. And I just think working with kids is just amazing, and I hope I'm making a positive impact on their life. And that's why I built the sensory courtyard.
Yeah, and tell us about the sensory courtyard, because a lot of times we think of sensory, but you know what is sensory to someone who has special needs? To me, it's like magic, but in a way, on the outside, we don't necessarily see that magic, but you have created a playground of magic for those kids.
Yeah, it actually is a magical area of space. And a lot of children that I work with, because I am a teacher of the visually impaired,
Hmm.
also have other disabilities too, whether that be autism, or mild to moderate disabilities, or severe and profound disabilities. So I wanted an area of space that they could have educational fun, So it doesn't seem like they are, they're touching ooey gooey stuff or whatever, because sometimes people with autism, they don't want to touch things, or you
Yeah.
have students that are tactile defensive. And actually, kids have gotten sick before if, a teacher gives them, let's say, some Play-Doh, and they don't like that feeling, and that could make them sick. Well, when you take them to an area of space that has a variety of textures, a variety of games, the sensory courtyard has trees that are lifelike, swings, and it has a lot of different senses, like the smells. They can push buttons and a scent comes out, and you get them into that space regularly, then they're going to have progress within the classroom too, because they're going to start to want to touch those things because it's fun, and they aren't thinking about what it can cause them. So I don't know. I really love the sensory courtyard. It's just my passion.
Well, and it's really interesting you say that, because one of the things I say, and this happens so much it seems like in the field of work that I'm in. I work with a lot of speakers. I work with a lot of authors. I work with different professionals, such as coaches. And there isn't any number of them. They go out there and they sell their knowledge through coursework, and then and it's like you go through the coursework, and then all of a sudden at the end you get your certificate and it says, "All right, Bob, I got my certificate." And then it's always like, "Then what?" "Great, you got your certificate." Or, as like my mom's a PhD, so I tease her. I said, "Yeah, Mom, you got PH disease." And so she says, "Yo, stop that, Robert." And I said, I mean, Mom, you're not like that. But see, the thing is I call the iNet like a crazy sandbox for adult kids who are wanting to, be in an expansive space to be creative with their ideas and with others. Because in business, so much of the time, we just have this linear conveyor belt of, this is how we need to be as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Go through this coursework and do this process, and then you're going to be this. But quite frankly, every entrepreneur is like grains of sand on our beaches. We're also very different. And the only way that I've ever found entrepreneurs to find true greatness is they learn how to build their own sandcastles.
And I love you say that. And then also, another word that came to my mind is control. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to, when you have your own creativity, then I can't speak today, I guess.
No,
Sorry about that.
it's because you put the book back there. It's just,
It must be. Yeah. So it's nice when, like, even in the sensory courtyard, for instance, those
Yeah.
students have control over that environment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to do what the classroom teacher is telling them to do.
Mm-hmm.
They get to do what they want to do, and that gives them control in their environment, and it actually alleviates some of those hindrances that are happening in the classroom.
I call it the unbinding of space.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much of the time when we're taught and trained, we're actually taught and trained, and we have to be taught and trained within a binding space. And when you actually add, the idea of sandboxing ideas and creativities and fun and that's why I say in iNet, it's like, everyone has a seat at the table. Everyone has a voice that can be heard. Everyone should provide value. I hope so. But the most important part is we all should be valued. And I think that that's where the creative process really, comes in, with just like deep, profound, foundational, synergy. And what I love about, like you, Mary, and I think that, someday we're going to have this conversation, is I think that we can take some of the ideas that you do with your kids and also create some creative spaces for adult entrepreneurs to also come into and learn how to really become creative and be in a safe place, so they can, start to identify and embrace, this creative growth again. I mean, because I think, wouldn't that be so cool?
Oh yeah.
You know? I mean, it's like, okay, everyone, get your sand pail out. Don't worry, don't make a mess. That's what vacuums are for, But and something
Bring your
like that, and
sunscreen. No.
your sunscreen, and that's what it's a lot about. It's I always look at entrepreneurs, so much of the time, and it's like, the most precious yet delicate point in every entrepreneur's life is when they grow to the point of a seedling. They're past a seed and they're emerging out of the ground and they're growing and they're looking for the right people to work with and they're looking for the right products to sell and they're looking for the right words to say and they're like working for the right look to be. And, it doesn't have to matter as much as it does if you get to travel around with people who have your back. And and there's not a lot of people that have your back out there, and that's what this space is about. It's about having a place where everyone can go so they can grow, and that's what I love about what you do with the kids. And but the other thing I also say is like Lana and like me and like you, just like kind of like my last part, you've also beat cancer as well. You've had
2
the pain in
times.
your life. Two times, and and you've beaten it as well. And it's another place where, I just want to say, I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you always show up. And every time I see you in a room, just like Lana, you always show up for others. You edify, you empower, you educate when you get a chance to, and you bring energy that provides hope for others. And we need more of that. And so, everyone, I am here with, let me put it here, I am with Mary J. Robinson. She is owner and founder of Kaleidoscope, or that's Kaleidoscope Energy, LLC. You can reach her at kaleidoscopenergy@gmail.com or call her at 402-660-1965. And Mary, where is 402?
It is in the Omaha, Nebraska area.
Woo!
So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Omaha, and I remember as a kid, because I actually went to school in Omaha at one time in my life. And for those of you who don't know, Omaha was a tribe, the Omaha tribe, and Omaha was the word that someone was screaming when one of the Indians was in the water, and he was going, Omaha, Omaha. So I don't know if you know that yourself, but that's where the word and the town Omaha came from.
I actually didn't know that, but I'm not from Eastern Nebraska initially. I'm from Western
Okay.
Nebraska, and then we just moved this way about 20 years ago or so. So
Well, you're a transplant then. Well,
still a Nebraskan. We didn't get out of the state.
yeah, still in Nebraska. And well, thank you so much for being on the show today. And like I said, like Doritos, we can always make more. And let's do this again sometime.
Oh, that sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Mary. Again, I want to say thank you so much to Mary J. Robinson, as opposed to like Robert W. Jones. I was with Mary J. Robinson from Omaha, Nebraska. How cool was that? I cannot believe our segment went by so quickly. And now, you know what? We are at the end. Nope, we're not at the end. We have one more segment today because I have 3 wonderful guests. And the next guest is a first-time guest on the show. So bring out your party favors and your balloons and start popping them right now, because Cindy Edington is in the house. Hello, Cindy.
Hi. Wow. I'm like virgin to the stage here.
I know. It's like, oh my goodness, who would have thunk it? I mean, it's like, haven't we known each other for years, right?
Well, it seems like that recently. So, yeah, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. Pleasant surprise. So honored to be here, and just to be honored to be with these other 2 women that you had on the show. They're incredible. So I feel blessed to be here today. Thank you.
I know I'm probably going to get a call or text after the show, and they're going to say, "Robert, you talk so much." I know, and I'm going to be like, "Lana, but Mary, you're so cool. I had to talk about you. I mean, you guys are so. I mean, like, I mean, if you guys can't dote on yourself a little bit and know the subtle art of bragging, I'm going to do the subtle art of bragging for you. So, Lana and Mary are just amazing, and I just love them to death. I am here with Cindy Edington. That's Cindy with a C. She is owner and founder of Tranquil Heart Wellness. You can reach her at Cindy at tranquilheartwellness.com. See, I love how the business name and the domain name, they match. That's cool stuff right there. Or you can call her at 585-703-9244. Again, I am with Cindy Edington. She's owner and founder of Tranquil Heart Wellness. And I want to say thank you so much for being a first-time guest on the iEntrepreneur Network radio show.
Again, delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, Cindy, I don't know too much about you yet, so I'm gonna get a little bit of background from you. We talked a little bit in the green room before we came onto the show today, and I do know that you are from New York, but you're not you're not in that little area that's kind of like all bunched together called New York City. You're from another area of New York. Tell us about that area.
Yeah, so I'm from Fairport, New York. It's a burb of Rochester that would be the main city. So we're considered the bumpkins of the state, so to speak. I grew up actually in Buffalo. So Buffalo on Lake Erie, Rochester is one city over on Lake Ontario. The winters are rough. They last about 9 to 10 months out of the year. And I think we were talking a little bit before, Robert, that you're absolutely right. June, July, and actually we can move even into August here. It's just spectacular. And people come out like the woodwork to really like embrace the sunshine as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely. I remember, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So I went to New York 3 years in a row during June and July. And I remember one time I don't know, I was in some group, and I have to tell you this, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I stand up and I'm like, I was like, oh my God, I have just came back from Buffalo. It is the most beautiful city in the world. And I was so proud. Like, I mean, someday I'm going to move to Buffalo. And I kid you not, the whole room was like, yeah, they were like, what? And they're like, have you been to Buffalo during December? I'm like, no, it can't be that bad. And they're like, go to Buffalo in December and you might have a change of heart about what Buffalo is like versus June and July. But I will never forget to this day about how the whole room was just like, Buffalo, are you kidding me? But I definitely have been there during the great time. So, growing up, I know that you have dedicated a lot of your life to health. Have you always been so intrigued, enthralled, enthused with health, or were there other things when you were younger that you might have gotten into if it wasn't for health?
Always. I've always been interested in health, wellness. And in fact, one time I wanted to be a nurse. Of course, now that was one. Do you remember the show Quincy by chance?
Yes, I do remember Quincy.
So I wanted to be Quincy. That was
really?
Yeah, I actually wanted to.
Isn't that like post-health?
Well, yeah, but I just found it so fascinating in terms of like the human body and like what happens. And so that was kind of like the beginning. But then, so this is a fun fact. I actually won the presidential award for fitness when I was 8 years old.
Nice.
So
I love it.
even then, in terms of like really being fit, paying attention to health. I don't know. It just feels like it's always been there for me.
Yeah, and it really it's interesting, and not to go too dark in the way that healthcare is now, in the food industries and the pharmaceutical nutraceutical industries, and now the mental health crisis that we're having. I don't like to think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but in certain ways, I feel like there's big money out there, and big money makes money after people's sickness, their the mental health crisis, and it actually, providing food that really is toxic to our bodies. I mean, I don't know what your thought is about that, but, do you believe that there's a crisis in the food supply chain, our healthcare, and even maybe our mental health state nowadays?
Absolutely. And it's all connected, isn't it? I couldn't agree more. I think things have really changed over the years. Again, the decades that I've been here on the planet, I think things have really changed. And I think we are at this precipice. We've got to do something different than what we're doing now. And I feel it's very unfortunate in terms of like where healthcare is right now. Of course, the whole COVID pandemic did not help the situation at all as well. I think that exacerbated, or maybe just not even exacerbated it. It was always there, I think, for the past at least decade, maybe even two. But I think it brought more awareness, there's more things coming to light, And I think that's really important, is that more people are waking up in terms of like how important it is. I like food is medicine to me, at this
Yeah.
point, just really learning about what do you put in your body and the importance of what we put in our body and how it interacts with our body, and not, the microbiome and the gut brain and the heart brain and the brain, how all these things are actually connected. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
Yeah, I am, one of my masters is in exercise physiology, and, even though I was trained as an exercise physiologist and we didn't really get a lot of information concerning nutrition. Much of the time, I think in our schools, they kind of put us in silos, and we don't really get like a great overall picture and foundation of what the genesis of health really looks like. We kind of are compartmentalized in such a way where, in many ways, no one person knows the full puzzle anymore. And I think in a certain way that's kind of also adding to the decay of our healthcare system, because when you silo things so much, you don't get the full, like what I say, the holistic with a W care that you should be provided. What are your thoughts on that, Cindy? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. Again, I think we've just gotten so far away from really the basics. If we just start, nutrition is so huge. And I know a lot of, well, again, you go the old school docs, don't, as you say, don't really talk a lot about nutrition. You don't really take a deeper dive on that. I think that the good thing is that you are seeing more natural paths out there. You're seeing more people, again, becoming more aware of like how important, as you say, nutrition is. I mean, I grew up on a farm. So, I mean, for me, again, I grew up with nutrition, nutritious food. We grew our own food.
Yeah.
My dad was a hunter, fisherman. So, he actually would bring home, because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So that's how we like filled the freezer. And my mom had this huge garden, and we would like, can or freeze and whatnot. And so we were always eating like organic types of foods, from the land. And it makes a big difference.
And I think it kind of gives a heart to really love the land, and it really, it really puts a new spin on what Mother Earth really means. And so I'll say this as well. For me, I also every summer grew up on a farm, so I was always, working with the animals. I was on the tractors. This was in Iowa because that's where the farms were. So we raised corn. That was like one of our big crash crops. We had hogs. We had our family barn animals, and yes, some of them ended up on the Thanksgiving table, at a certain time of year. But the thing is there was a certain amount of true holistic health with that. Having grass-fed beef is very different than having grain-fed beef. Because you actually get the true um, um, amino acids that you need to like live and stuff. So I think that I think when I look at health nowadays, I think what's happening is we're not replenishing and we're not rotating, and we've gotten to this corporate even farm system, which is really taking more out of our soils than we're putting back into. And one of the things I did when I was in San Diego is I participated for a few years in something called CSA, and that's community sustained agriculture. And what we found was is people who actually know know the source of where they're growing their own food, right? They actually have a healthier wherewithal because of the nutritional components that come in there. And so I was also wanted to know, what your stance was like, on having your own garden, as a part of, your food source.
I have one. Of course I have one.
Of course you do. See, I mean, I'm knowing these questions, so I just have to ask you them.
Yeah, no. So you mean you don't really know that about me, but I'm glad you asked. Yes, I
Oh,
do.
I'm always like that. I'm always like this. I read who you were here, and I'm like, I know she has her own garden. I bet she's on a farm. So yes, I make all these assumptions, but my other master's was in statistical analysis, and so what I do is I kind of look at what I read, and I say, okay, according to the bell curve of what I know about people, I bet you she has this or that. So very
I thought
cool.
it was telekinetics that was happening here. So.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. I love it. I love it. So something else about my background, I was a programmer, in my life. And I think Lana knows this and Mary may know this too, but I got out of programming because when I worked for a company, and it was a pharmaceutical / nutraceutical company, which to me is really pretty much the same thing with a different suit on. And I remember I was in the boardroom that fateful day in 2009, and the CEO got up, and it was a boardroom, and we had like 12 members on the board. The CEO, you had one woman in the room, and then you had me. You always have a tech guy in there, right? There's always one tech geek in there. And so I'm sitting there, and oh my goodness, our CEO, chairman, he was so upset, and he comes in, he slams the table. You know what he said? We need more sick people.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. And that was the day when I sat there, Cindy, and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't live my life to lead a life where I looked at profit over people. And that was the day I decided to get away. And about 2 weeks later, I was out of there. And, you don't leave those companies like you walk out the door and you're dancing, like one of those pill commercials on television. They're dancing with their broom, and they're, flying kites, and they're, polka dancing and all that. No, they walk you out with 2 armed guards on either side. And I remember that I told myself at that time, I've learned from this, and I'm never going to go back to this.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of my life, I just dedicated myself to helping people and bringing happiness in a grateful space, because to me, it all starts, with the heart.
Mm.
And that's where I learned, before you can work on your mindset, you got to work on your heart set. But once you have your heart set and your mindset set, then all the skill sets, all the gifts that you have, will come to fruition. And that's always been like my plan for others, is just, let's even get beyond the mindset. Let's get into your heart set. And when I worked with world-class athletes, when I was working, at ASU, Arizona State University, and I was working on my exercise physiology degree, I always remember the professional athletes going, they never said, oh my God, I wish I read more books. They always said, oh my God, you got to have more heart. And that really had a profound effect on me. And the heart is everything, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
See, I told you I know you, telekinetic thing going on.
Oh, it's got to start here. I talk with my clients about this all the time. It's like literally self-love is a huge component, right? You have to love yourself. And I think for most of us, it's a journey to get there.
Yeah.
You were talking to the ladies before, just wonderful, right? I mean, these heart opening events will literally start with maybe some type of painful heartbreaking event. But I think the more that we can come into our heart, really come into loving ourselves first. And that's the other thing. I work with a lot of women. And so learning how to love yourself first is such a key critical thing. And I agree with you. When you have this set, the rest just kind of, it flows naturally. It flows naturally.
It really does. And, and it's really interesting to think, as entrepreneurs, because I work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. And so what it is, it's really my goal to get them, I call it getting them on stages, getting them in pages and helping them learn how to do engages. Because the whole thing is I want them to all be profitable with their voice. I call it being a prophet of your profits. Because everyone deserves, if you're living in your greatness, and I always say, I'm not looking for the world's best average. I'm looking for people who really want to strive and be great, and they should be, also compensated for that. But I always say, I have to look at the emotional part of it. I also have to look at what I call the CQ of it. Do they have an appetite for people? And if they don't have that appetite for people, if they don't have a high level of emotional intelligence, they're usually not for me. And part of building a community is to have heart-centered, like-minded people come together, because at the end of the day, we won't tolerate those who are just out for themselves. I always say it's you serve before you sell. And I think that you probably agree with that as well. And how do you put your service and your heart into your clients?
Oh, it's such a good question. I can relate to them. That's the biggest thing, is that I've been through what they've been through. I've walked in their shoes. And so understanding, the pain that they've experienced from firsthand experience, I think really connects us from a heart to heart perspective. And I think it's really important to not just, talk about something that you don't, you know, it has to come from your heart. So whoever you're again, my client base, I know what they've gone through. So again, we have that heart to heart connection right off the get go. And I think it's really important, because then it's not just, again, talking some blowing smoke somewhere, to me, there's it's nothing worse than that. It's not authentic. It's definitely ingenuous. And so who wants to be with somebody that's not really speaking from their heart and their truth and being themselves? And I do a lot of sharing. I do a lot of sharing with my clients, because I want them to know that I truly understand where they've been. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and there is a theme to that, and I'm going to say there's a certain sexiness to it, and and you're like, well, pain being sexy, and I'm like, yeah, in a certain way it really is, and when I say sexy, I mean like, um, engaging, inspirational, type of lens, if I can say that, because it's like, I don't want to, I don't learn from those who've had it great. I've learned from those who've had it hard, and they've learned to live great. And it's really funny, because people ask me, how do I get on stage, or how do and I always say, think of the worst things that you've gotten through in life, and learn how to turn them into stories which can bring your audience to tears. And I say, because if you can create that type of emotion in them, you're going to create a bond of closeness that no one else can match. And and the other thing I also say is if you don't have anything worthy to say, you're probably not going to be a great speaker anyway. But at any rate, that's a different story.
Another topic for another day, it sounds like.
Another topic. See, like I said, like Doritos, we can always make more. But I cannot believe how fast our time goes by. I am with Cindy Edington. She's owner and founder of Tranquil Heart Wellness. I love that. I love all of the names today. Every business name matters. And I love that. I love words. Reach her at Cindy at tranquilheartwellness.com, or call her at 585 in that crazy Rochester, 703-9244. Again, Cindy Edington. She is owner and founder of Tranquil Heart Wellness. Cindy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you. And I think we might just have to do this again, right?
Oh, thank you. Again, this was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. What a pleasure. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. And if you like, we always do like about 5 or 10 minutes of green room time to all meet after the show. So that's something I did not get to say before the show, because we were talking too much about Buffalo. So again, everyone, thank you for being on the show today. Lana Stevenson, Mary Robinson, and Cindy Edington. You guys rock. So again, my name is Robert Jones. I'm owner and founder of the iNetrepreneur Network. I'm also the host of the iNetrepreneur radio show, which goes out to all these different places that my tech team sends it. I want to remind everyone that on April 11th, that is April 11th this year, we are going to have our contributing author kick-off event. We're going to have an offer to potential authors. An offer to our authors, something like that. I don't know. I had a speech impediment, so it probably sounds like offer. At any rate, we live in the crazy state, Arizona right now. We're on Pacific time. I understand that you have places to go and things to do, but you took this time and this place to do it with us, and I want to thank you for it. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, we meet here each Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. See you next week, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.